And a very pleasant good afternoon to everyone. My name is Biff Kensington, and you are tuned in to the Queen City Express here for Thursday, May the 3rd, 2018. It's just after 4 p.m. Hope you're having a good day. Joined, of course, with my co host, Ryan Cyo. Ryan, hell, man, it's been a long week, dude. How you doing?
You say it's been a long week, and at the same time, it almost feels like I was just doing this last week.
You don't say.
Yep, that happened. We got the parrot, so it was okay.
You know, I you did
I
you
mean, I
not?
was disappointed. I was disappointed in the parrot. I'll be honest. It wasn't a full on parrot like I hoped.
If I'm not mistaken, didn't you actually get it right? You predicted Baker Mayfield going number one overall.
I want to say I did, but I can't remember honestly.
So how the hell did you pull that off exactly? Do you got some voodoo magic working here?
I'm good at guessing things that don't matter.
Are you saying the Cleveland Browns don't matter?
If that's what you're thinking, I'm implying.
It would appear that you're implying that.
Then maybe I am.
Uh-huh. Well, anyway, we got a good show for you here today. It's not going to be a long show. Hopefully the internet holds up. Uh, you might have noticed we've been having a lot of internet problems here lately. Our show kind of gets cut off. We try to strive to be a top-notch production here, and we just can't quite ever seem to get everything to work right. But we'll do what we can. Today is our official Backlash prediction show. We'll also talk a little bit about NXT's expansion plans towards the end of the show. Ryan, this might be the most underwhelming card I've seen for a pay-per-view in quite a while. This is not exactly what you would call the most exciting of pay-per-views. It really feels like this is a placeholder just to kind of get us through the shake-up period for the rosters. Anything standing out on this card for you?
I'll be 100% honest with you. I forgot this pay-per-view was happening until about an hour ago. So if that tells you anything, it's that I just don't have a lot of interest in it.
Well, it is this Sunday. It's the second big show in the last 10 days. And, of course, the Greatest Royal Rumble last Friday. Pretty much a glorified house show. But this one is hopefully going to be a little bit more than that. I got to be honest, I have not seen 205 Live yet. There are some sources that say that Buddy Murphy and Cedric Alexander have been added to the card, or possibly the pre-show. That could be a Cruiserweight title match. I don't have that confirmed as of yet. I haven't watched 205 Live, so I'm not going to include it officially. If we do get that match, it'll be quite amazing. I like both guys. Of course, I'm a huge Cedric Alexander fan. Cedric, Queen City's favorite son. Love you, buddy. Want to get you on the show one day when we actually have a real show. So that would be a great match if it does happen. But again, have not confirmed that yet. We'll just have to wait and see. This is the card as it stands right now. It's going to be headlined AJ Styles, Shinsuke Nakamura, their third title match in the month. That will be a no disqualification match for the WWE Championship. We also have Seth Rollins defending the Intercontinental title against The Miz, an interbrand match there, Raw and SmackDown. Jeff Hardy will be defending his U.S. Championship against Randy Orton. Looks like Randy Orton is getting ready for his heel turn. Two women's championship matches here. First on Raw, Nia Jax defends her title against former champion Alexa Bliss. Carmella defending her SmackDown Women's Championship against former champion Charlotte Flair. We also have Daniel Bryan taking on Big Cass in a little feud that's developed over the last month. Roman Reigns and Samoa Joe are going to go one-on-one here. No titles on the line in that one. And Braun Strowman and Bobby Lashley will be taking on the team of Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. So this is definitely one of those cards where it feels like they're just trying to get through these last few storylines. Had a lot of these matches kind of set up by the Superstar Shakeup over the last couple of weeks. With the Greatest Royal Rumble kind of diverting attention last week. We had two go-home shows this week. Basically, this is going to ride or die on the quality of the championship matches. There's 5 championship matches for this card as of right now, and that does not include the potential Cruiserweight title match. With AJ and Nakamura, this will be their third match. Of course, they had their first match in WrestleMania in New Orleans. Ended with AJ Styles picking up the clean win. A no contest in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia last Friday. Now we have the no DQ match. This sounds like it could be the blow-off. Let's go ahead and get you predictions, Ryan. Who you got in this championship match and why?
They've probably going to be Shinsuke. I feel like they got to move ahead with him, though it does leave the window open for an AJ Joe feud if AJ retains, but there's a little bit of bad blood there between Nakamura and Joe, so it's still possible they can do something with it. But I don't know. I feel like having Shinsuke come up short 3 times in a row is going to really kill him. So I feel like he's got to do something here.
Well, if he doesn't win the title here, I definitely think he's out of the title picture for a while. Although Nakamura and AJ, their feud could easily carry on through the summer. They have one of the best rivalries going in WWE right now, and compared to the Universal Championship feud that we just came out of with Roman and Brock, I mean, it's heaven and hell, night and day. So
I'm hoping the feud continues. I just think the belt needs to be on Nakamura to really push the feud forward.
I agree. AJ and Nakamura, that could definitely get another couple of matches out of that, depending on how they work things around. But if you're not going to put the title on Nakamura, then it would be prudent to kind of move on then. We got Samoa Joe waiting in the wings. You could have a situation where Nakamura defends his championship against someone other than AJ Styles. At first, you could have AJ and Samoa Joe take up a little mini feud here to try and get us closer to SummerSlam. That's really the next big show, unless you count Money in the Bank. Although I think Money in the Bank is probably going to have more impact on the Raw side of things. I think we're going to get a Money in the Bank winner from the Raw brand this year, and I think the Universal Championship match at Money in the Bank will probably be where the Universal title actually changes hands. That comes on the heels of the realization that some people have had that Brock Lesnar's Universal title reign is approaching the number of days that CM Punk held his WWE Championship reign. A lot of people assume that because they're so close, Vince McMahon and the WWE is going to have Brock Lesnar surpass that mark for the longest modern championship reign in the company. I'm not sure that was necessarily the goal when they started out with Brock. I definitely think it could be a potential minor side goal that WWE has. Although if they intentionally held off on putting the title on Roman to meet that goal, then they're really dumber than they look.
Yeah, I wouldn't put it past them. I really wouldn't.
Well, of course, we'll have to wait and see how things work out. Maybe they go with Braun. Maybe Roman gets another title match. I don't honestly know, but I'm enjoying the WWE Championship match, this feud between AJ and Nakamura. Nakamura, the king of dong style here, just continually abusing AJ's nuts. It's like he's never known true happiness until he touched AJ's manhood. I fully expect AJ Styles just to go Super Saiyan in this match on Sunday and just blast the shit out of AJ or Nakamura's nuts. That's just me. I think that they're really missing the boat if they don't, have AJ just go Hulk out on him. But I think Nakamura could win the title here. I hope Nakamura wins the title. At last check, he was the favorite to win the match. Now, that doesn't mean he's the favorite to win the title. He could win by he couldn't win by disqualification. There's no DQ. I guess if he's the favorite to win, then he would have to win the title, wouldn't he?
That's usually how it goes, I would assume.
Yeah, because with no disqualification, there's no countdown either, I would assume. So, well, we'll just have to wait and see. Nakamura as WWE champion, that would definitely be a big step up for him. It would be his biggest accomplishment in the company thus far. Of course, he was NXT champion several times. But this will be a huge endorsement on this heel turn for him if he wins the title. AJ has been a perfectly fine champion, been a very serviceable champion, and I don't think he's going to leave the title picture anytime soon. So I've heard of worse ideas than putting the title on Shinsuke Nakamura. This heel run has been absolutely electric. So
they do have a Japan tour coming up in June. That might play into it as well.
It would be interesting if they wind up putting that on the network as like a live network special.
Kind of like Beast East was.
Yeah, something similar to that. I mean, it could work. They are filming from if I'm not mistaken, they're filming the same location that they were last time. I could be wrong on that. As a matter of fact, I think I might actually be wrong on that. But Because last time they came from the Sumo Hall, I don't think they're at the same venue this time.
I've got it here, but I'm no way in hell going to be able to pronounce it right. So, yeah. So
I'll verify that and check in next week on it. But yeah, they do have the live event coming up in June, I believe it is. So
at the very end of June.
Yeah, it could play a role, no doubt about it. And let's go ahead and skip down into another match that could have some bearing on that tour of Japan coming up. The SmackDown Women's Championship. Carmella defending the title against Charlotte Flair. I don't know about you, Ryan, but I'm not 100% sold on the idea that Charlotte's recapturing the title here.
I don't think she is. I think Carmella's going to hold on to it. Don't get me wrong. I think it's going to be a dirty as hell finish. But I'm thinking Carmella's going to hold on to the belt. Even if she loses, if it's by DQ, she's not losing that title right now, I don't believe.
Well, do you think it has any bearing on the Iconics maybe getting involved and screwing Charlotte out of the match here?
I think it does. It seems to be what the way they're going here lately with it. I could see that happening. I could see Carmella just doing something to DQ herself or getting counted out. But I feel like Carmella's going to hold on to the belt for a little bit. It's kind of giving a little bit of a different scenery in the title picture for the women on SmackDown right now with her holding the belt.
Well, it definitely opens up the possibility for Asuka to succeed Charlotte as the #1 contender to Carmella's title. And it would make sense if they want to put the title on someone else that Asuka would be the next best option. I don't see the Iconics wearing the title anytime soon because who are you going to put the title on? You're going to put it on Billy or you're going to put it on Peyton? You know, they seem to be better suited to kind of, what's the expression I'm looking for? Causing a little bit of trouble, let's say.
Right.
And of course, if Charlotte ends up losing her match because of the Iconics, then her and Becky could have a full-blown feud with the Iconics that could carry on to a possible Becky Lynch heel turn. Of course, we have Absolution being disbanded, or at least not being the same unit that it was over on the Raw brand. Sonya Deville and Mandy Rose both getting told by Paige that there's no real special favors for them on SmackDown. So we'll see if they remain a tag team. I'm really high on Sonya Deville, so we'll see if she gets an opportunity to shine on the heel side.
There's definitely seemed to be building a lot of female tag teams here lately.
Well, I mean, there's rumors of women's tag team championships coming. I just don't see how they're going to make that work with such thin rosters.
They would have to. My best guess would be, since the pay-per-views are co-branded, they could just have them defended on the pay-per-view and just have it go between shows. But I don't know.
They could do that, but the whole switching between shows and everything, that really didn't work out too well the first brand extension.
That's fair enough.
That's one of the reasons they wound up creating new titles, because they didn't want to have people going back and forth between the brands. And really, it defeats the purpose of a brand split, to be honest.
All right.
But I'm not a fan of the brand split anyway. Now, there are some positives, obviously. You have people like Braun Strowman or Heath Slater, guys that in their own special way. Of course, Braun now is a main event talent. Heath Slater is an undercard comedy act, but they get a chance to shine more on the brand split. But I think you can achieve the same goal by having better writing and making better use of the roster. The downside to the brand split, of course, we have way too many titles. You've got 2 mid-card titles, 2 top-tier titles, 2 women's titles, 2 tag titles. That's 8 right in and of itself. And you've got the cruiserweight title, 9. If you're bringing in 2 extra tag titles for the women's division, now you're up to 11. You also have all the titles down in NXT. Now, I know NXT and WWE, they kind of keep themselves separated, but still, that's a lot of championships for one company. I would really like them to kind of cut that down. Obviously, not every championship has to be defended on every show, but you get into a situation where if the titles are not being defended on pay-per-view, they tend to lose a little bit of their luster. So that's kind of my 2 cents on that. But I think we're both in agreement, Carmella retaining the title here.
Yeah, I don't see him taking it off of her right now. It seems too soon.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, Charlotte is good enough to go without the title. I mean, she can kind of work on other things. Obviously, she's not going to be out of the title picture forever.
No.
So they'll kind of cycle her back and forth as needed. Speaking of women's championships, on the Raw side, Nia Jax will be having her first major title defense against Alexa Bliss. This is a rematch from WrestleMania. I thought the WrestleMania match was okay, a little bit long for what it needed to be. With Nia now defending, obviously we're going to have a bit of a longer match. Alexa Bliss been doing these little moments of bliss PDAs or PSAs, I think I should say, on Raw the last couple of weeks. Quite entertaining, but at the same time, I don't know that we're going to put the title back on Alexa. Nia's been getting really good reactions, even compared to some of the other stalwarts in the division, like Ronda Rousey. She's looked really good, so I don't necessarily see the need of taking the title off Nia here.
Yeah, I agree. I think Nia should hold on to it for a while just to see what she can really kind of get into with it. That, and it still would send that weird message of them, promoting a bully to be the champion, and it seems kind of wrong. But then again, WWE is kind of stupid at times, and they have a really big fascination with Alexa Bliss at the moment, so there's no telling what they do. But I'm hoping Nia holds on to it.
Well, something I've been thinking about Alexa Bliss a little bit, not in the way that you're probably immediately thinking. But Alexa Bliss, I love the chemistry that Alexa has with Braun Strowman. Now, I'm not as down on Alexa as an in-ring worker as some people are. There are some that just can't stand her in the ring. I think she's serviceable. She's not bad.
She's average.
Yeah, she's average. I would agree with that. She's not the best, but she's definitely not the worst.
Not deserving of the title, I would say.
If we're going strictly by in-ring work, no. Now, I think her character and her promo ability. Well, she was originally a valet down. Well, I shouldn't say originally, but most of her time at NXT was spent as a valet. Now, she started out as a wrestler, as a babyface wrestler, kind of the sparkly, upbeat kind of character. And then she kind of turned heel with Buddy Murphy and Wesley Blake, the Dubstep Cowboys. So she had a lot of work as a valet. I think that her promo ability, that's a great role for her. But I also love the chemistry she has with Braun Strowman. Now, you got Braun Strowman sitting here. He's about to explode with the main event run. You just feel it coming. There's too much momentum for WWE to waste it on Braun. So I'm going to pose the question I posed at Cage Side Seats the other day. Could Braun Strowman and Alexa Bliss make an interesting on-screen pairing, especially if you want to kind of mellow Alexa Bliss out and kind of transition her more into a babyface role? Or do you think that Alexa Bliss needs to remain where she's at or stay a heel?
I feel like maybe more of the interesting dynamic would be have them pair up, but leave Alexa Bliss heel and have Braun Strowman be a face and him just kind of not really understanding what she's going for.
Basically, you want Alexa Bliss to take advantage of him.
In a sense.
See, I don't like that because that makes Braun look really stupid. And the one
a little bit of a shtick, though, isn't it?
Well, it's a trope, yes, but isn't that kind of the MO on a lot of WWE's baby faces?
At the same time, what would she be able to really gain by having him at her side? It's not like he's going to be interfering in women's matches. I don't see them having him run in and give Nia Jax a running power slam.
Well, no, I'm not looking at this more from storyline perspective. I'm really looking at it from the chemistry perspective. It's obvious these two have chemistry.
Right.
I'm not talking romantic chemistry, although Braun's a big strapping lad. You never know, but I'm just talking purely from the Mixed Match Challenge. They had really great chemistry, great timing working together. And, Alexa Bliss, once you move her out of the title picture, I'm not sure what more she can do as a heel. She's been a heel now for several years. She's kind of run her course in that respect. You're not going to move her back to SmackDown. There's no real role for her there. And I don't really foresee her working out as a babyface in the women's division. Now, as a pair with Braun Strowman, be it as friends or as an on-screen couple, kind of a reverse Macho Man Randy Savage Elizabeth type deal, maybe you could work something out. But, I just kind of feel like once Alexa moves out of the title picture, she's too good a talker to just have her waste away on the undercard. She needs some sort of prominent role, but I don't necessarily know that being in the ring is where she's going to make the most money.
I'm trying to look at the Raw women's division to see who she could possibly go up against after this Nia Jax feud's over, and I really not really seeing a whole lot that she could be doing. So she's already had a moment with Sasha and Bailey, and they're in the middle of their thing, which, depending on how far ahead they take that, it could be a while. And you don't really have a whole lot left after that. I mean, you got Natalya, but she's in the middle of something already. There's not a whole lot for her to do.
Well, the Natalya feud with Mickie James looks like it's going to be transitioning into Ronda Rousey and Mickie James.
Right.
I actually thought they would run that match at the pay-per-view, but apparently they're not, unless I just don't have it here in my notes.
I haven't seen it. It could be one of those like surprise matches, but it could also just be them wanting to give Ronda Rousey a little bit more time.
It's possible. I mean, it's very possible, but you could absolutely transition that into kind of a tag team feud with Natalya and Ronda going up against Mickie and Alexa. So that could be an avenue over the summer. But I definitely think we need to have bigger plans in place because, Alexa Bliss, she's very talented on the microphone. She has a really great character. Her ring work is okay. It's nothing special, but she definitely has a presence. She definitely conveys star power, and I think it would be a shame to waste that. And, of course, the chemistry with Braun Strowman is definitely an interesting pairing, and it would definitely give her a, kind of a prominent spotlight. We'll just have to wait and see. But again, I don't think she's winning the title back on Sunday, nor does she need to. So we're both picking Nia Jax to retain. Speaking of retaining, unless there's just some absolute tomfoolery going on here, I think Seth Rollins will be retaining the Intercontinental title against The Miz. This is not how I wanted them to set it up. I wanted the Intercontinental title back on SmackDown, but it would appear the Intercontinental title is going to be staying on Raw. Seth Rollins, having one hell of a run, had a great match with Finn Balor this week, one of the best TV matches of the year for my money. I see no reason for SmackDown to get both mid-card titles here. So I'm picking Seth Rollins in the Intercontinental title match. Who you got and why?
There's two ways I see it going if they want to be tricky with it. I'm thinking Seth Rollins is probably going to retain, but I could see them having The Miz win it, and then later on having Randy Orton take the title off of Jeff Hardy and then move to Raw with it.
Well, no, this is kind of where I get kind of tripped up here. You have no real precedent for trades other than during the Superstar Shakeup.
Well, there could be a trade if both the titles go to SmackDown. You could very well see Raw using that as an excuse to get somebody, say like Randy Orton, felt a little bit of extra star power push for them, just to say they wanted to get the title back to Raw, so they made a trade. I don't know who the trade necessarily, but it's hard to tell.
That actually is a very interesting point. You have on SmackDown, you have Joe, Big Cass, Nakamura. That looks to be your big three, and Miz be the big four of your heel side. Then you've got Bryan, AJ, and Jeff Hardy on the babyface side. Maybe you could have Randy Orton win the U.S. title, take it to Raw in a trade, and get one of the babyfaces over, maybe a Finn Balor. Finn adding on the babyface side, I think that would kind of help even the odds out, especially since we would assume the bar is not long as a tag team. Sheamus is not going to go much longer. I would imagine Cesaro would probably transition into a singles heel run, at least at first. So, maybe we could be seeing a trade for the U.S. title. I think that's more complicated than WWE would like it to be, and that's why I think we're just going to see Seth Rollins retain. It is unfortunate that Miz is separated from the IC title, but short of a championship run for the Miz and hitting number 9, Seth Rollins has just been on fire lately with that IC title. And so if you're just looking at it pragmatically, there's no real reason to take the title off of Seth Rollins.
There's not. I mean, he should by all accounts hold on to it, and I think he will. I just I would like to see them do something a little different. I feel like Randy Orton would be better off on Raw right now. He's kind of lost in the shuffle on SmackDown, and I would like the Intercontinental title to stay on SmackDown as well, or come back to SmackDown. But like you said, Seth Rollins is probably. He's got to be one of the best workers that's going on the main roster right now. He's been just absolutely tearing it up. So I could see them just wanting to keep him with the title.
Well, I'm going to pose a $64 million question. This is as good a segue as any. Right quick, are we in agreement that Seth Rollins is retaining?
Yes.
And are we in agreement that Randy Orton is winning the U.S. title from Jeff Hardy?
Yes.
Okay. Now, $64 million question. We talked about Braun Strowman a minute ago. We're talking about Seth Rollins now. After the Greatest Royal Rumble and the car crash that was the decision to keep the title on Brock, Roman Reigns is done as a top-level babyface right now. If they try and put the title on him at this point, he's been lugered. I don't see any way that it works. It's going to go over like a fart in church.
Well, I've got some bad news for you come SummerSlam.
What would that news be?
Oh, it's going to be Lesnar Reigns again, and he's probably going to win it there.
No.
You know that's what they're building to. Don't even try to act like they're not.
No.
They've done this whole, Roman Reigns actually technically should have won that match because his feet hit the floor first if they weren't going to do it. They're going to do it. I don't like it, and it's stupid, but they're going to do it again.
There is no way they can run that match again.
They are stupid enough to want to force this match down your throats for the 50,000th time. They're going to do it.
I beg to differ.
Except the sadness. Because who else have they built up on Raw that's going to compete Brock Lesnar for that title?
Well, I can tell you one guy the fans want to see compete with him, and that's Braun Strowman.
Who's already lost to Lesnar multiple times, and they're not going to put the belt on him because he doesn't technically need the belt, so it's going to go to Roman freaking Reigns.
No, whoa, cowboy. Let's back this train up here for a moment. I originally would have agreed with you. Braun Strowman could have easily fit into the special attraction role. And for a while, especially early on during the singles run he's had on Raw, I would concur, he doesn't need the title. It's going to be hard to kind of book him with championship. But we also need to face facts here. Braun Strowman is the most popular guy on Raw right now. And his popularity is starting to rival even that of a Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan gets some very loud cheers, but I don't know that anybody got as loud a reaction as Braun did 2 weeks ago. Now, it was a bit of an unusual circumstance in Montreal. He was getting kind of a mixed reaction because he's in there with Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. So it's not really fair to judge the overall reactions he's been getting based off of the Montreal crowd. But of the main eventers on the quote-unquote babyface side Monday night, Braun got the best reaction. And I think that says a lot, to be quite honest. Now, Seth Rollins got a better reaction. Of course, he wasn't competing against the hometown heroes, so obviously he got a louder reaction than Braun did. But it poses an interesting question. You've got Seth Rollins, who's tearing it up with the Intercontinental title. You've got Braun Strowman, who's white hot. He's never been more popular. And you've got Roman Reigns, who has basically been taken out back and shot and is just, completely useless now as a main event babyface. Putting Roman aside for a moment and moving Roman into the mid-card, because apparently Roman is scheduled to be taking up a feud with Jinder Mahal. And if you think Jinder Mahal versus Roman Reigns is going to work as the main event, holy shit. Raw's live events are going to crater under the weight of that suckfest.
I think I'm just going to start watching SmackDown and NXT and call it a day.
So let's be completely honest here. Braun Strowman or Seth Rollins? You got to put the title on one of the two. Who are you going to go with? Because you got to get the title off of Brock. And then Brock might be losing that title as soon as Money in the Bank. That would apparently be his next title defense. I don't believe they're going to defend against Roman again. They've got to move on to something else. This feud is death, and it's killing Brock's, allure here. If Brock is just going to keep wrestling with Roman Reigns, you might as well stay away and forfeit the damn title.
If they're going to go with Rollins going for it, which I could see, because he's been doing well, I mean, they're going to have to take the Intercontinental title off of him, and then you have to ask, who are they going to give it to? Are you going to give it to The Miz? Are you going to drop it to somebody on Raw? Because at this point, I mean, he's beat Balor so many times, it wouldn't be feasible for Balor to come out and beat Rollins for the title now.
I don't know that I necessarily agree with that, because Finn Balor has beaten Seth several times too.
Yeah, but here recently it's been pretty consistent.
Well, yeah, he's kind of been established a step above Finn. I think Finn would have to have a heel turn, which I would be in favor of because I love Prince Devitt from New Japan. So
I don't see them making him go heel with his current Balor Club is for everybody thing. That's going to send off a really bad message.
he would definitely need to cut back on that, yes. But Raw has a severe shortage of upper echelon heels.
Yeah.
They've got Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn is not exactly a main event heel. He works as a good sidekick to Kevin Owens. But, I mean, there are people that say Kevin Owens isn't exactly a good main event heel either. But once you get past Owens and Zayn, who are you left with? Brock Lesnar is barely there. So you can't really trust him from a weekly perspective to carry the show. Samoa Joe's on SmackDown now. Once you get past this Roman Reigns match, he's pretty much blue brand, exclusive. I mean, who's your next best heel? Baron Corbin? He's in the low card with No Way Jose right now. Jinder Mahal? Jinder Mahal is not a top heel.
Well, let me tell you something about Jinder Mahal. He was world champion for a while.
That's a hallucination. That's a drug-induced
That's what you want
fantasy.
to just believe, but it's there.
They don't have top heels. They really don't.
I mean, somebody's got to, unless they're wanting to, they could strap the rocket ship to McIntyre. That's a possibility. But soon. It's a little soon for that.
Yeah, it's too soon. I don't think that you strap the rocket to him this quickly. Now, obviously, he's a guy you can build up, and I would love to see him in that role. But it's just too much too soon for him.
Yeah.
You got to let that kind of develop organically. If you try to shoehorn someone in before they're ready, it falls flat, quote unquote, Roman Reigns, or vis-a-vis Roman Reigns. As far as top heels go, look at, if you want a top heel, you're going to have to turn a top level babyface. Now, Bobby Roode would be better off as a heel, but is Bobby Roode capable of working in the main event level?
He's not main event level anymore. They killed his momentum coming out of NXT. He's at best just going to be a mid-card guy now. I feel like they've completely bungled Bobby Lashley's comeback, and nobody gives a rat's ass about him right now.
Well, Bobby Lashley could conceivably work as a heel. He was a heel in TNA. He
spent most of his time in TNA as a heel, and he was pretty good at it. It's just they're really going to have to make us care about Bobby Lashley being back because he's not done a whole lot since being back. It's like he was just kind of showed up on the Raw after Mania, and it was like, oh, Bobby Lashley, and that's it.
Well, if you're looking now at your top baby faces in order to turn one heel, you eliminate Bobby Roode from the equation. You eliminate Bobby Lashley. You're left with three names.
Elias.
Well, Elias is already, kind of mid-card level. He could work.
I think he's the person they're wanting to push. That's what I've been hearing. I'm not saying he's capable of taking down Brock Lesnar, so they're going to have to take the title off Lesnar if they want him to be a feasible threat to anybody holding the belt. But they like the amount of heat that he's getting. He's been getting a lot of it, and he's also popular. People like Elias.
Well, let me ask you a question. Elias, Bobby Roode, Kevin Owens, Jinder Mahal. Is that an acceptable upper card heel tandem for you?
It's still a bit lacking.
So you need one more. Now you've got three options. You've got Roman, you've got Finn, and you've got Seth. Well, four if you count Braun. I'm going to tell you right now, Braun Strowman is not turning heel. Number one, the crowd wouldn't buy it. Number two, it'd be the stupidest freaking decision WWE could possibly make. So you're down to three. Roman, Seth, Finn. Finn is an excellent heel. But Finn is extremely small. And smaller heels, I don't necessarily like smaller heels in WWE because I don't like the way they're booked most of the time. They kind of become chicken shit heels. Now, that could factor into part of the Prince Devitt character, but Prince Devitt is a character I never really read chicken shit heel into him. I've been more gang leader, kind of cocky, arrogant.
Super cocky, from what I remember.
Yeah, so I don't necessarily know that Finn is going to work as well as a heel in WWE as he did in New Japan as Prince Devitt, but he has the talent to make it work. Now, Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins has been tearing it up as Intercontinental Champion. We've gone over this already. I personally think Seth Rollins turning heel would be a colossal mistake.
It's a terrible idea. He could very well be your baby face of the future, and he's already there and already built up enough for it. People love him. They really got behind him since he's come back. He does play a good heel, don't get me wrong. His smarmy, cocky, chicken shit heel was great, but it would just undermine everything that he's been doing for the past few months to turn him heel again. And that really just leaves one of the three that you mentioned, and that's going to be Roman Reigns. And we have talked to death about Roman Reigns going heel. It would make the most sense, especially if they're going to do Roman Brock again. You can have Roman Reigns break bad to be able to beat Brock Lesnar. He's going to go to the dark side. Or alternatively, it can go back to the thing we said earlier. You move Randy Orton to Raw, there's your instant credible main event heel.
Well, if Randy Orton doesn't move over, they're going to have to turn somebody. Now, if they turn Finn, it could work, but they're going to really have to commit to it.
It's going to be hard because people love Finn Balor right now, and especially with this current gimmick that he's been doing, it's going to send off a bad message. I think it's a bad idea to do it.
If they turn Braun or Seth, they could have a full-on crowd revolt.
Yeah.
So at this point, it's Roman or bust. But if WWE finally bites the bullet and turns Roman heel, that's a paradigm changer. That changes the equation completely on Raw, because not only do you have a top-tier main event heel, but you're going to have a top-tier heel that's going to have a ton of heat, and you've got some very strong baby faces for that champion to work against. That character to work against, I should say. That could completely change the landscape on Raw, because with Roman holding court at the top, now your mid-card heels with Bobby Roode, Kevin Owens, Jinder Mahal, even Baron Corbin, you have a little, and Drew McIntyre and Dolph Ziggler, you have a lot more depth now to play with. You can take your time with Drew McIntyre, bring him up a little bit slowly. You can work on rehabbing Baron Corbin a little bit. Now you've got some options, but you've got to get Roman in the correct character alignment.
It'll have everything fall into place where it needs to.
Yeah, and until they do that, it feels like Raw's just a jigsaw puzzle, with pieces missing. You know, let me try that again. I kind of botched that. A jigsaw puzzle with the pieces missing. There's just an incomplete picture on Raw right now because they don't have the top heel that they need. I'm a huge Kevin Owens fan, but he's just not been presented as a top-tier heel. He's kind of a mid-card act at this point. That's really the MO for the main heels on Raw right now. And speaking of Kevin Owens, he's going to be in action Sunday. Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens are taking on Braun Strowman and Bobby Lashley. I've got Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn winning this match when Bobby Lashley turns on Braun. So I guess you talk about a segue inserted with a chainsaw here. I think Bobby Lashley's turning heel here. I don't see any other reason for this match to exist, because Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, they've already lost clean as a sheet to this tag team on Raw 2 weeks ago. And they lost the six-man this past Monday. What other rationale would we have for this match to exist other than Bobby Lashley turning on Braun here and giving the win to Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn?
Outside of just a match to have to fill time, if they want it to be a kicking off point for a new storyline, you could have them to be going at it. It gives you that kind of hoss battle. It's always kind of fun to watch. But other than that, I mean, there's really no point to it. So, yeah, I mean, if Lashley doesn't turn heel, it's just going to be a whatever kind of match.
Yeah, I just don't see the point of this match if Bobby Lashley isn't going heel. Now, if Braun Strowman and Bobby Lashley are going to be teaming up exclusively moving forward, you know, that's fine. But at the same time, you know, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, they've already been beaten 2 weeks in a row. Why would you want to beat them here at the pay-per-view? You're already short on heels. You don't want to weaken 2 of the heels you've got. So I think Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn pick up the win here personally.
No.
So that's the bulk of the card. There's a few other matches rumored. I think there's a women's 6-man that's been talked about. The Cruiserweight title match could show up. Ronda Rousey could do something with Mickie James and Natalya. You never know. Overall,
SmackDown title match, tag title match, maybe. I don't know.
I don't know if that's scheduled. I think the Bar and the New Day are scheduled to wrestle, but I don't have that written down here.
Hmm.
The Bar and the New Day, I do believe that match was made official. So, I mean, we could go into that. Obviously, I think the Bar is going to beat the New Day.
Yeah.
Unless, we are closer to Sheamus's end date than we're led to believe. You could have the beginnings of the Bar breaking up here and have the New Day win, but I don't know that that's the direction they're going to go. It all depends on Sheamus, really. I think everybody and their sister is expecting Cesaro to get a singles run this year. We're just kind of waiting to see when Sheamus decides to take some time off to kind of heal from some of these injuries he's been dealing with, or retire outright. Spinal stenosis is not something that's going to repair itself over time, so we'll see how that goes. But overall, I think the uncertainty over this match order on the card that we had here is just kind of indicative of this card overall. It's just kind of hazy. It's just kind of there. Not expecting much from it, to be honest.
It's honestly probably just one of those shows. It's just going to be done quick and in a hurry to try and do a quick finish up on some of the feuds for post WrestleMania and just get us moving towards SummerSlam. It's going to be just a quick and dirty patch job on all their stories going on, I feel like.
Yeah, I would agree. I think we got Money in the Bank coming up next month. That'll be the last major stop, and then it's pretty much full board to SummerSlam. It's kind of setting up the feuds that are going to take us through Brooklyn, and then once we get out of Brooklyn, obviously the fall months are generally not that exciting for WWE. But we'll see what happens. It's going to be an interesting summer. They have the potential to do some really good stuff, particularly on SmackDown and Raw. All it takes is a couple of major switches, and it's a whole new ball game. I enjoyed both shows for what they were this week. There was an excellent Sasha Banks match on Monday with Ruby Riott. That was a really fantastic match. They're still kind of drawing out this Sasha Bayley rivalry. I think they miscalculated on that. A lot of people seem to have lost a little bit of interest in this. It's going to happen, but whether they get the maximum value out of it, I don't know at this point.
I think it was a tweet earlier. I can't remember off the top of my head who said it. It was something along the lines of WWE is in real danger of having a blow off to the feud of Sasha Banks and Bayley and nobody caring.
That's a stunning tweet, but it's very much a possibility.
It's very much accurate because nobody gives a rat's ass about this feud anymore. They took the two of the biggest fan base of the women's wrestler. I've completely butchered the way I want to say that. Two of the most popular women's wrestlers on Raw had them go against each other. People that have gone against each other previously and put on some barn burners of matches. And they just completely made it to where nobody cares.
I think it was a situation they probably were hurt a little bit by Ronda's entry. I think a lot of the creative focus was on Nia Jax and Ronda, and Bayley and Sasha kind of fell out of the wayside. Originally, I was glad they didn't have their singles match at WrestleMania because I felt it would be kind of a rush job and it would be buried under the weight of the card. Hindsight being 2020, that might have been a mistake because now they've drawn this out for so long that I don't know how interested the casual audience is going to be over this. The casual audience has never accepted Bayley and Sasha Banks as much as the hardcore fans did. People that were watching in NXT definitely gravitated more towards the Four Horsewomen than the casual audience does. Now, Becky Lynch has a moderate groundswell of support behind her. I don't think it's as big as people make it out to be. Charlotte is taken as a big deal. Charlotte is viewed as a big deal. I don't know that Bayley and Sasha are considered big deals anymore.
They've effectively killed their characters to the point to where they're not. Sasha was up until, I don't know, around the Royal Rumble, maybe a little bit before.
I'm going to dispute that a little bit here, even though, and this is weird to say for a 4-time women's champion, but what is Sasha's MO on the main roster?
Was it only 4? I feel like her and Charlotte were switching that title back and forth every week.
To my knowledge, it's 4. But okay. What is Sasha Banks' MO on the main roster? She's a choke artist.
Yeah.
She loses when it matters. She's never had a successful title defense, and she's been a champion 4 times. In NXT, she was considered one of the best female workers in the world. Now on the main roster, she can't defend a title to save her life. she almost always loses. She has one of the lowest winning percentages of the baby faces on the Raw Women's division. So I dispute the idea that she's ever been as big a deal as people made it out. She's never recaptured the same luster she had in NXT. She came close a few times when she won the Raw Women's Championship the first time heading into SummerSlam a couple years ago. But, even that, she lost the title straight away. And then the whole story of her existence has been losing the title every time she defends it on pay-per-view.
I think a lot of her recent troubles with the Bayley feud is, and you're going to have to forgive me if I'm wrong or maybe keep me up to date because I haven't really been following Raw a whole lot here lately. But when they first started the feud, it was very much, Sasha's stabbing Bayley in the back. She threw her out of the Rumble. She eliminated her at the Elimination Chamber, all that kind of stuff. But then it's like they kind of made it feel like Bayley was going to be the heel. And then it was like, no, Sasha's going to be the heel. And then it was kind of, they couldn't decide who they wanted to be the heel. And I think that just killed a lot of people's interest in it because they didn't know what they wanted to do with it.
They really did a disservice the way they kind of set it up. Now, I think they did this because they were kind of throwing some seeds of doubt. Sasha obviously was the expected heel of this program. Everybody expects Sasha to go heel because that's where her bread and butter from NXT was as a heel. And they were wanting a little bit of doubt to see if Bayley would go heel. What basically wound up happening, Sasha kind of turned on Bayley during the Rumble and then again at Elimination Chamber. However, both of those matches, they were opponents. It's not like they were a tag team.
Right.
Bayley turned on Sasha during a tag team match where they were partners. She left her high and dry. And then she's left her to the wolves. She got beat down once by Absolution. Bayley kind of just left her out to dry. So it's almost an interesting kind of situation where you've got Sasha attacking Bayley when they're opponents and Bayley abandoning Sasha when they're partners. And it created a really weird dynamic. It actually kind of split a lot of people that were watching at the time over who was in the right and who was in the wrong. As it stands right now, if I'm Sasha, I don't even care anymore. I just wash my hands of her and move on. But I don't know, dude. I don't know what the hell they're trying to do with this feud. I think they were just trying to stall for time, but I think they stalled it out completely.
They went for a slow burn that turned into a crawl that turned into a couple back steps. They bungled it. Honestly. They messed it up.
Couldn't have said it better myself. It was a slow burn. It was the right decision at the time, but they missed their window.
Yep.
And I don't know if they can get that window open again. We'll see, though. I mean, that could be progress on that front as early as this Sunday. I mean, I've seen stranger things. So we'll see what happens. Quickly, one more on Backlash before we move on to our next topic. Are we in agreement that we both think Nakamura's winning the title Sunday?
I believe so. I just feel like he needs it. I mean, I think I've said this for the past 2 matches they had, but yeah, I feel like he needs to have it. You can only go so far dick punching people.
Yeah, I would agree. I think Nakamura could do well as a heel champion for the Blue Brand because it's really a heel show right now.
Yeah.
You've got AJ and Bryan, but you've got, Nakamura, you've got Joe, you've got Miz, the heel side of the roster, and a big cast. Speaking of big cast, we have another match we need to talk about. Big Cass and Daniel Bryan are scheduled for a one-on-one. Big Cass, I made this analogy. Big Cass, when you close your eyes, he's interesting on the microphone. His promos aren't bad, but if you watch him cut a promo, it looks like he's about to shit his pants. It's like he has tremendous stage fright. So I don't know what the deal is there, if he's just not comfortable cutting promos yet, or if it's just his facial expression. He looks very uncomfortable on the microphone.
I think spending so much time in, NXT developmental, having a mouthpiece for him, it really didn't do him any favors. So he probably very well isn't really used to cutting the promos, and it's going to be something that comes with time that everyone else that's come out of NXT had the chance to develop. So I think that's what's going to hurt him when it comes to promos. I like Big Cass. I think he can be something special if they put the time and effort into him, That being said, when it comes to this match, I can feel like they might give him a win here just to try and help propel him up a little bit the card. If he loses, it does kind of kill any momentum they want to give him, and it could just relegate him to the Baron Corbin role to where every now and then he'll just slide up into a decent feud, and then he'll just go back into obscurity.
Do you think he beats Bryan on Sunday?
I'm thinking he might. If they want to give him some credibility, this would be the way to do it. Because let's face it, it's not going to hurt Daniel Bryan to lose to anybody. He could lose to a broomstick, and people are still going to say, well, Daniel Bryan's the best wrestler they got. It would help Cass out if he takes up a win because it will bump his credibility up. But what do I know? I just watch wrestling.
Does Cass have to win to get a credibility boost? If he just hangs with Bryan, is that enough, or does he have to have the win?
I feel like if he hangs with Bryan, but he doesn't pick up the win, you very well could see a post-match beatdown to make him look strong. He's got to come out of it looking strong. If he just gets straight up beat and that's it, I think he's dead in the water.
I just don't see where the value of Big Cass on the main card right now is, because you've got The Miz, who's going to talk circles around him. And he's definitely going to be in the mid-card heel picture, if not higher up. And you've got a Daniel Bryan-Miz feud that's just waiting to be unleashed. I don't see Big Cass jumping Samoa Joe.
No, he's not going to go up to like the world title picture. I feel like he'd be more of that lower mid-card heel. He can pop into like the Intercontinental / US title as they need be. If somebody got hurt, then he's the replacement. Kind of here and there, pick up a feud here and there. It's going to be nothing special. Like I said, very much what they did with Corbin. Occasionally Corbin will just like randomly pop up saying, "Hey, I should be the #1 contender for the world title." That's probably like what they'll do with Cass. He'll show up for a couple feuds here and there, but he needs some credibility because he's still too new. I feel like that would be a good way if they have him look strong against Bryan, whether he loses or wins. As long as he comes out looking strong, I think it's going to help his stock a lot.
Yeah, there's an interesting, discussion to be had about what the ceiling is for Big Cass. I honestly think they missed the boat. They should have had him come back as a babyface. I think that he would have had a little bit of an easier path on the babyface side, because you can leapfrog Bryan and have him be the second top babyface underneath AJ Styles. As a heel, I think he's kind of lost in the shuffle a bit, especially if you have Randy Orton about to go heel, which Orton wants to go heel. Orton is better as a heel. Everybody expects him to go heel. That's going to leave a huge dearth of baby faces on SmackDown if that does happen. You've got 3 baby faces against 5 or 6 top heels. You got Andrade Cien Almas coming in too.
I was gonna ask. Like I said, I haven't been keeping up with the weekly television a whole lot. Has Almas done much of anything on SmackDown yet?
They've had a couple of vignettes for him. He hasn't debuted yet as such.
Okay.
It would be interesting to see where he winds up going. This is kind of the interesting thing about SmackDown, and especially their singles roster. If you look at this, with Rusev still technically heel but getting babyface reactions, it looks like they're about to go full heel with Rusev again, and they're going to break up Rusev and Aiden English. Based on what we saw Thursday, that seems to be the direction they're going to go. So that would probably just, finalize the Rusev heel. It's not a heel turn. He's still technically a heel, but it would definitely codify him as a heel. Randy Orton could be going heel, although they could keep him as a tweener. That's, an interesting direction that they could go with him. You've got Big Cass. He's firmly heel. Samoa Joe, firmly a heel. Miz, firmly a heel. Shinsuke Nakamura is in the midst of his heel run. He ain't going to turn back this quickly. With Andrade Cien Almas coming in, you've got the Bludgeon Brothers in the tag ranks. You got the Bar. SmackDown is a land of heels.
Yeah.
And, the only division in SmackDown where the baby faces outrank or overpower the heels would be the women's division. At least in the women's division, you've got Charlotte, Becky Lynch, Asuka, Naomi. I think all 4 of those, combined would overcome the Iconics, Carmella, Sonya Deville, Mandy Rose. But if we're looking at the tag ranks, you've got the Usos, you've got the New Day, Then you've got the Bar and the Bludgeon Brothers. The Bludgeon Brothers have been established as this dominant heel team that really can't be beat right now. And you got Sanity coming into Sanity, generally heels in NXT, although they kind of flip-flop between heel and face depending on who they're wrestling. I would imagine they would probably come in as heels unless they're feuding directly with the Bludgeon Brothers, which could happen. But on the single side of it, between Randy Orton's ambiguity, you've got Shelton Benjamin as a mid-card heel for the brand. We'll see where Andrade Cien Almas and Zelina Vega come in. Big cast. There's just so many heels, and on the babyface side of things, you've got Hardy, Bryan, and AJ. That's really it. That's really it. They really don't have another option on the babyface side of things. Not from where I'm sitting, at least.
Yeah, no one that's relevant. I mean, you could say like Ty Dillinger, but who cares?
Ty Dillinger's a lower card guy, best.
Yeah, so. But I mean, unless they wanted to finally do the turn and strap the rocket to Rusev that he deserves, and people would just go bananas for. Yeah, they don't have much in terms of faces. They really don't. I'm sitting here looking at the roster, and I'm kind of surprised at how much they've skewed this.
Might be time for New Day to break up and have Big E get his singles run. Yeah. Or maybe just have Big E do a singles run as part of New Day.
I was going to say, if I would like to see the New Day kind of branch out into singles, but I would like it to be more like how they kind of did the Shield, where they could still stay with two of them as a tag team, one of them as a singles guy, the other two support. That would be the best bet for them, because let's be honest, the New Day is still one of the most over groups they've got. They're not going to really want to break them up.
I wouldn't break New Day up in the sense I wouldn't have them feud. If they do break them up, just have them like peacefully go their separate ways.
Yeah.
I think that would be what I would do. But
they haven't really sowed any of those seeds to really kind of start that, I feel like. So it would. I like the idea of them pushing one person to a singles feud, but the other two just kind of there to back them up.
Yeah, although, when you get into that kind of territory, you almost question whether or not he needs to be a babyface at that point. What's the babyface doing with backup?
Not necessarily like sitting there jumping the ring, but, they could still be, friends and doing like promos together, but they won't be like interfering in matches necessarily.
Yeah. No, I think Big E could absolutely fit right in with Jeff Hardy, Daniel Bryan, and AJ Styles on that level. I think he's good enough in the ring, and he's popular enough that he could probably work in that role. Another guy that could possibly work, depending on how things work out with the Bar, maybe you could put Cesaro as your number 3.
Yeah.
Number 3, number 4, duking it out with Jeff Hardy. The problem with SmackDown, the danger for SmackDown, 2 of their top 3 baby faces are both injury prone, or they have, issues outside the ring that could jeopardize their standing. I hope, knock on wood here, I hope Jeff Hardy's legal troubles are behind him. But, he had another DUI in March, right before WrestleMania. Talk about the worst possible time to get into legal trouble, right before he came back. And so you question whether you can trust him with the responsibility of being at the top of the babyface side. Daniel Bryan definitely has the fan credibility to be a top babyface, but his injury history has got to be concerning. You don't want to invest a lot in Bryan, given he's one injury away from going right back on the shelf. And AJ Styles, despite, AJ's wrestling at a high level still, and he's very popular, but AJ Styles is winding his career down.
He's getting up there in age.
Yeah, he's in his early 40s now, and he's talked about retiring more and more the last couple of months. So, your babyface side is kind of thin here. You definitely need more depth there, just flat out. And Randy Orton, even if he remains a babyface, we're not talking about a spring chicken there either. Randy Orton has talked about, winding things down here too.
Yeah, the more I think about it, and I know it's probably not going to happen, I could really enjoy seeing them do a trade for Orton for maybe Balor or somebody of that nature to give SmackDown that face that it kind of needs, and it gives Raw the heel they could use. But
if they traded Randy Orton, and this is assuming Randy Orton wins the U.S. title,
right?
U.S. champion Randy Orton for Intercontinental champion Seth Rollins. That gives Raw a top tier heel, and it gives SmackDown a huge baby face. Seth Rollins could be the face of SmackDown. You could kind of transition him over AJ if you wanted, because AJ can work heels as well. AJ is a better heel than he is a face. I mean, he's a good face, don't get me wrong, but yeah, that's the interesting thing about SmackDown. They have problems, but they also have so much potential.
Yeah.
Cesaro, when he gets the crowd behind him, Cesaro's just playing good in the ring.
Yeah.
And so he'll build up fan support through his ring work, but whether or not he becomes a face or not, that time will tell. There's a lot of interesting pieces on SmackDown. There's a lot of interesting ways they could go, but they are running some risks the way they set things up. Bryan's going to have to wrestle for a good while and prove himself healthy before they can really invest in him. AJ Styles, you have to consider, what are you going to do with AJ moving forward, because he's got the feud with Joe lined up, and after that, you're going to keep him face. You're going to transition him back to a heel with the club, because you've got Gallows and Anderson kind of wallowing, not doing anything right now. Someone kind of joked on Reddit that Gallows and Anderson are basically adopted. They're basically children being passed between Finn and AJ. That's pretty much the extent of their role in WWE right now. So, I don't know. There's so much potential. There's so many question marks. It's going to make the next couple of weeks interesting.
There's so many ways they can go with it. Hopefully they don't choose just have it stagnate.
Yeah. It's just, we'll see what happens.
Yep.
It's going to be an interesting night. Not expecting much, but generally when you don't expect much, that's when the show surprises you. There should be some good matches on the card. I feel it should be fun.
I feel like the more I've talked about it, the more my expectations have kind of gone up for it, but I'm probably just going to get let down.
Well, we'll see what happens. It is this Sunday. Next week we'll have a full recap of the show for everybody. One quick news bit before we go. I promised we'd talk about this last week. I don't have too much more to say about it. Any thoughts on the NXT expansion ideas that Triple H has been floating about opening up performance centers in different parts of the world?
I mean, if they got the funds to do it, then as long as they don't really change their programming style, I don't think they need to add more time to NXT. And I like the fact that takeovers aren't every month. So as long as they don't really go messing with that, I mean, there's never really a bad reason to be looking for more talent. I know they're getting kind of loaded up, but at the same time, a lot of the people that are established they're getting up there in age. You mentioned like your AJs and your Nakamura's, they're all old. Brian's injury history, and he's still getting up there in age as well. It's not a bad idea to be looking for those faces of the future.
Well, there's some people in NXT that could make a huge impact given the right treatment. Johnny Gargano could be a big name for them.
Gargano, we've mentioned Velveteen Dream many times. Velveteen
Dream, Johnny Gargano, Adam Cole, Aleister Black. You've got all sorts of talent down there that could make a splash. It's just a matter of bringing them up in the right way. If Johnny Gargano is brought up to wallow and wither on the vine on 205 Live, then he's not going to get much of a return. If you bring him up on SmackDown and give him a chance to kind of prove himself as the heir apparent to the Daniel Bryan underdog babyface role, I think you can make some money with him. Yeah. And of course, where Gargano goes, Ciampa will follow. So we'll see what happens. I think it's an interesting idea, opening up new performance centers. I have long pitched the idea of opening up another performance center in the United States. I thought that it would be a good idea to create a second territory because NXT has kind of become almost like a AAA, where you have big international players from New Japan, Ring of Honor, Progress, Mexico. They'll come in, and it's basically a glorified independent promotion. You don't have the same vibe that you used to with NXT about it being a developmental league anymore. I think some of the people that could use a little bit more refinement could stand to have a second promotion where they could work with more, have people kind of on their level to work with. and come along a little bit. I floated the idea once of opening up a school in Memphis and have that be kind of low A compared to NXT's AAA level. But if they're going to open up other centers, I mean, they could definitely stand to open one up in the UK. The UK wrestling scene is on fire still. They want to have an increased presence from Latin America and superstars. Up from Mexico, of course, Chile. They're having a nice little wrestling revival down there. Could be a situation where they look to establish a new center to try and draw up some more Latino superstars.
I was gonna say if they do one in America, I would see like over in the California area to try and get some more of that Latino people to come in. Possibly up into Canada to get some of the more Canadian wrestlers. So you got a long line of great Canadian wrestlers that have come out. Memphis has got a good wrestling history, but it is fairly close to where NXT is operating. So it would make more sense to have something more on the western or northern side, I would feel.
It's possible. I could see that. And, we'll just have to wait and see. I don't know that there's any plans to open another center in the U.S. at this point. To my knowledge, all of their expansion plans were built on expanding globally.
Yeah.
We'll see. It's an interesting time.
It's going to get really costly with work visas.
Yeah.
That's just going to be the problem with that.
It's going to be expensive, but if it works, WWE will establish its global domination plan here.
Yeah.
They're the world leader, and they're just setting things up to continue. And I think it's, just a matter of time. As much money as they made from the Saudi Arabia show, that we're going to see more global efforts, outreach efforts here, running more shows in international markets because it's kind of an untapped potential for the company. They made a lot of money in the first quarter. Their profit margin is up from what it has been the last few years, so they're making money. They're profitable. They keep getting Saudi Arabia type deals, making millions of dollars to run these shows. It's going to increase the bottom line even more. So we'll see how it happens. That is our show for this week. A couple of programming notes. There is no more Last Call. Last Call has ended. If we ever have a need to reactivate the show, we can do it as a special deal. I will give you an update on the next round of our trivia contest. We'll have another drawing coming up in a few weeks. Special thank you to everyone who participated in the past drawing. We also have 2 episodes of the Connoisseurs of Wrestling coming at you next week. We have a brand new YouTube channel that's going to be unveiled. We've got 2 Dynamite episodes, one on Bruno Sammartino, the late, great Bruno Sammartino, and we have a very special guest. Taker's Been and I will be talking with his lovely wife, LL. She will be here talking AWA wrestling. So AWA and Bruno, a double shot to open up our new channel. That's the Connoisseurs of Wrestling. Look for that early next week. Of course, you can catch Taker's Minion and Dr. Sinju. The Breeze Podcast, Saturday mornings, 11 a.m. Eastern time. The most fun you'll have with your clothes on this week. Metal Matt and the Ruthless Aggression Podcast coming at you Friday evenings. I believe he's got some interesting stuff lined up this week. I think he's talking about one of the old SmackDown games on the PS2. So that should be fun. I know he's been having a lot of fun playing back that game during the daily and nightly threads. Matt, stop winning all the titles. Share some of the fun. Of course, all the affiliated Cage Side Seats podcasts, definitely keep it up at Cage Side Seats for more information on all of those shows. Of course, all of the LIP shows that you normally check out. Just enjoy all the content that's being provided. And if you haven't already, be sure to check us out at Cage Side Seats. Join us in the daily and nightly threads. A lot of good people, good conversation, good times. I want to say thank you to my co-host, Ryan. It's awful nice of you to take time out of your day off to talk wrestling with us. I know everybody appreciates it, buddy. We will see you next week. You have a good one. And to all of you listening here now or in the future, hope you enjoyed this episode of the Queen City Express. For Ryan Cyo, this is Biff Kensington. You can follow me at Twitter at RealDealBiff. Information down in the info box. We'll have full coverage of Backlash next week and any other wrestling stories that happen to break. Take care, guys. You have a wonderful rest of your week. We'll see you right here next week. Same time, same channel, the Queen City Express. And no damn parrot talk today. No parrots. There's no parrots. We're ending the show professionally.
But what if a Polly wanted